Okay, so that long-awaited, really hyped up PlayStation showcase just took place, and it was a show. Was it mind-blowing? No. Are my nuts still intact? Yes. Were there some cool things that they showed off? Abso-freaking-lutely. And then we're going to talk about the cool stuff. So feel free to like and subscribe if you want to stick around and talk about some more gaming stuff, but let's just go ahead and get right into what we saw. Now, the first big elephant in the room, unfortunately, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was not shown off at this event, which is nuts because this feels like the proper time frame to show off a new trailer for that game. Now, as I mentioned in previous videos, all hope is not lost. There's a good chance that Rebirth could still show up at Jeff Keighley's event, Summer Games Fest. Square Enix is listed as a partner for this event, so it is possible that they could show up with a Rebirth trailer, and if they don't, then I would assume there's probably just going to be Final Fantasy XVI stuff at that event. And we did get a Final Fantasy XVI trailer at this showcase, and once we saw that, that kind of sealed the deal for me for Rebirth not showing up at the showcase. So unfortunately, we gotta wait a little bit longer for Rebirth, and if it doesn't show up at Summer Games Fest, I wouldn't be shocked if Square Enix just does their own direct again, just like they did last year. So that's always a possibility, and that might even be better, because if they give us like a 20-minute direct that is solely focused on Rebirth, that would be super dope. But all hope is not lost, because there was a Square Enix game at this event that is going to take the world by storm. It's clearly in high demand. It's something that a lot of people really wanted, and it's a game called Foam Stars. Now, if you can't sense the sarcasm in my voice, yes, I'm being facetious. This is a weird-ass game. In my notes, I called it Soap Bubble Shooter, but it looks like Square Enix's take on Splatoon for some reason, and instead of shooting people with paint, you are shooting foam at them, kind of like those crazy foam pit parties, which are really dangerous. And I guess the goal is to shoot people with foam and drown them, and then you win. It's a weird-ass game. Nobody was asking for this, but it did have some banger Persona-style music in the background, which was really cool. That was probably the best part of that trailer. But yeah, weird ass game, Foam Stars. I don't know what they were thinking with that one. So let's get to the cool stuff, and yes, it was at this event. We've been talking about it for months now. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. The logo looks a little weird. It looks like Metal Gear Solid Triangle Snake Eater, but I looked it up and apparently that symbol is supposed to be pronounced as Delta. So it's Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. But we get this really cool, what I'm assuming is a pre-rendered trailer with all of these ants crawling to the dead body of a frog. And as they get to the frog gets picked up by a huge bird, and the bird flies through some different sceneries and eventually settles on a log. And this is where my nightmare kicks in, because beneath the log in the water you can see an anaconda. And I'm not the biggest fan of snakes. Those things scare the frick out of me. And of course the anaconda pops out of the water, goes after the bird, and then it's attacked by a crocodile or perhaps an alligator. I don't really know. I didn't look at the nose. But as the fight is going on, the camera pushes forward, and out of the muck, the legend himself rises, a naked snake. And we hear the iconic Metal Gear 3 theme Snake Eater by Cynthia Harrell, and it's beautiful. One of the greatest themes ever made. And it confirms Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is a thing. Again, I think this was a pre-rendered trailer. Either way, it looks really dope, so I cannot wait to get more info on that. After that trailer, they announced a Metal Gear Solid collection, which is going to have the first Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 2, and Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence in a pack that's going to be coming later this year in the fall. So I don't know if they're going to be remastered or if they're just going to re-release those versions of the games, but those are going to be hitting later this year. But Snake Eater is confirmed. It's going to be nuts. That was a really cool reveal. One of the bigger reveals of this event. We did get a new Final Fantasy XVI trailer, which was a pretty short trailer, and to me, this has got to be the final trailer. So it really screams launch trailer for the game, because it kind of gives you a little bit of everything. There's story stuff, gameplay, stuff about the icons, and there's some interesting stuff at the beginning, which kind of showcases some of the struggles that Clive is going to be dealing with, where it looks like there's a situation where maybe he's trying to help out, but he ends up doing more harm than good, and he's being scolded. by some of the civilians there. So there's definitely going to be a struggle with Clive trying to help people, and he might end up doing worse, even with good intentions. We did get some more battle stuff. Again, it's stuff we've technically already seen before. We got a little bit more of the Bahamut fight. We did get some interesting dialogue in regards to the dominants, talking about how they use their powers and how people are disagreeing with it, which is pretty interesting. But again, it was a really quick trailer, and again, I'm pretty sure this is a launch trailer. Unfortunately, no word on the demo yet. A lot of people were speculating that perhaps at this event they would be announcing and dropping that demo for the game, but looks like we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer for that demo to actually hit. It was just Square reminding people again that Final Fantasy 16 is a thing and it's coming, even though we had tons and tons of press and events for the game already. And like I said before, the moment this trailer showed up, it kind of sealed the deal for me that Rebirth would not be at this event. Even though both games are going to be very different from one another, I think they still want to focus solely on 16, get that out of the way, and then they can start talking more about Rebirth. So we gotta wait a little bit longer for the Rebirth stuff, unfortunately. And then we end with Spider-Man 2, Spooderman, a trailer that focuses on Kraven the Hunter and his move to New York, and he's hunting down what looks like Dr. Connors, the lizard. And we see some really awesome combat between Peter using the symbiote suit, and he is pissed. He's doing a lot of really cool, crazy combos, grabbing 4 people at once, slamming them down on the ground. There's one part where he kicks a guy pretty much into oblivion multiple times on the side of a house before eventually getting to swap to Miles, and that was something that I hoped that we would see in this game, and a feature that I really wanted was the ability to hot swap between Peter and Miles. Now granted, this was a story part of the game where they were able to switch to Miles, so I don't know if it's going to be something that's in-game where you're swinging around the city and you can just swap back and forth between the two characters. I'm hoping that's the case, but in this scenario we got to swap over to Miles, who was in a completely different part of town, and seeing him get to his location was insane. This game looks dope, and it's not just a graphical thing, the tech behind it has got to be absolutely amazing. Seeing Miles just swing through the city and seeing how cool the buildings look and all of the stuff that got rendered in without any slowdown, I think that's going to be the most impressive thing about the game, is that even though graphically it looks really good, it's going to be how the game performs, that stuff. How much can they throw at us and fit on the screen? The water effects in particular looked really, really good. So we get to see Miles' UI, and it's really cool. It's that colorful, neon colored UI that kind of reminds me of the Spider-Verse stuff, which is very like purples and turquoises, which looks really cool. We got a segment that really focused on Miles using stealth, whereas Peter was pretty much an all-out brawl. Eventually, Peter and Miles meet back up to chase down Dr. Connors, and there's this really cool chase where Miles goes after these jet skis and Peter's taking out these drones, and we see some really cool quick time events taking place. Peter throughout this whole thing is just pissed. That symbiote is clearly changing his personality, and Miles is seeing it firsthand. So we're definitely going to have a section probably maybe halfway through the game where Peter is able to rid himself of that symbiote, and maybe it finds Brock. And then the last half of the game is dealing with Venom as well as Kraven the Hunter. So it was a really spectacular demo, a great thing to end on. Overall, the showcase itself definitely not as hype worthy as people were hyping it up to be. Again, my balls are still intact. There wasn't anything too mind-blowing that they showed off. Definitely excited for Snake Eater, cool cinematic trailer. Spider-Man 2 looks dope. Final Fantasy 16, again, just release the damn game. I'm so tired and burned out of covering Final Fantasy 16's gameplay and trailers and story stuff and character stuff. Like many other people, I just want to play the game. That is the video. I am Curious Corduroy. Please leave your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Was there anything at this showcase that wasn't Final Fantasy that really kind of stuck out to you and got you excited? And when do you think we will see Rebirth? Do you think it's going to show up at Summer Games Fest, or will Square do their own event once again? I am Curious Corduroy. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.